President Ruto has praised King Charles for his address during a state banquet in Kenya, but asked for further reparations to be paid, something the British government has previously ruled out. The king delivered a short speech to the 350 guests, where he addressed the more painful aspects of the UK and Kenya's shared history, but stopped short of an apology. The Kenyan president said, "If colonialism was brutal and atrocious to African people, colonial reaction to African struggles for sovereignty and self-rule was monstrous in its cruelty. It culminated in the emergency, which intensified the worst excesses of colonial impunity and the indiscriminate victimization of Africans. While there have been efforts to atone for the death, injury and suffering inflicted on Kenyan Africans by the colonial government, much remains to be done in order to achieve full reparations." Earlier in the day, the royal couple were given a ceremonial welcome at the State House in Nairobi by the President, His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, and the First Lady, Her Excellency Mrs. Rachel Ruto. On Tuesday morning, the President rolled out the red carpet for King Charles and Queen Camilla at the State House, complete with a red carpet and a 21-gun salute from the Kenyan Navy. The royal couple then carried out a series of engagements in the Nairobi before arriving at the State House for the banquet tonight. This blog is now closed. See below for COVERAGEKEY events. Get the latest royal news from the Express Royal Newsletter 1527. Sign up to our royal newsletter. 1247 Camilla stuns in white silk dress and striking diamond brooch that belonged to late Queen. 847 1 month ago 1844 Catherine Mayer funnel President Ruto calls for further reparations from British government. The Kenyan president told the 350 guests at the banquet, "We also note with appreciation your expression of willingness to acknowledge the painful aspects of our shared history. Your exemplary courage and readiness to shed light on uncomfortable truths that reside in the darker regions of our shared experience are also commendable. This is a highly encouraging first step, under your leadership, to deliver progress beyond tentative and equivocal half measures of past years. Your Majesty, although it has been indicated that Kenya and the United Kingdom are celebrating 60 years of diplomatic relations, this by no means implies that our peoples were total strangers before that. Neither does it mean that we live in denial of history. We cannot live as prisoners of the past. Neither can we go far into the future if we turn our backs on historical actions and omissions whose legacies encumber our present. If colonialism was brutal and atrocious to African people, colonial reaction to African struggles for sovereignty and self-rule was monstrous in its cruelty. It culminated in the emergency, which intensified the worst excesses of colonial impunity and the indiscriminate victimization of Africans. While there have been efforts to atone for the death, injury and suffering inflicted on Kenyan Africans by the colonial government, much remains to be done in order to achieve full reparations. 1 month ago 1749 Catherine Mayer funnel King Charles condemns abhorrent treatment of Mau Mau rebels but refuses to apologize. King Charles has made a speech at the Kenyan state banquet expressing sorrow for the treatment of the Kenyan people during the colonial era, but has stopped short of a full apology. He said, "It is the intimacy of our shared history that has brought our people together. However, we must also acknowledge the most painful times of our long and complex relationship. The wrongdoings of the past are a cause of the greatest sorrow and the deepest regret. There were abhorrent and unjustifiable acts of violence committed against Kenyans as they waged, as you said at the United Nations, a painful struggle for independence and sovereignty, and for that, there can be no excuse. In coming back to Kenya, it matters greatly to me that I should deepen my own understanding of these wrongs, and that I meet some of those whose lives and communities were so grievously affected." 1 month ago 1731 Catherine Mayer funnel King Charles and Queen Camilla's 8-course dinner menu, but Monarch makes key tweak. The full 8-course menu for the royal state banquet in Kenya has been released, and it looks delicious. However, The high table did request a last-minute tweak to their dishes. Instead of beef Wellington, they will be tucking into a chicken version of the dish. 1 month ago 1711 Catherine Mayer funnel King Charles and Queen Camilla greet Kenyan President and First Lady. The King and Queen have arrived at the State House in Kenya for a banquet to be hosted in their honor. They have been pictured arriving and shaking hands with President William Ruto and his wife, First Lady Rachel Ruto. Both the King and the President will later make a speech. 1 month ago 1704 Catherine Mayer funnel Queen Camilla stuns in blue tunic and trouser combo for Kenyan state banquet tonight. Queen Camilla has arrived for the state banquet dressed in a baby blue Anna Valentine tunic and matching palazzo pants. Her accessories made a charming and personal addition to the outfit, as she wore a diamond elephant bracelet. She also wore a Van Cleef Arpels necklace which once belonged to her grandmother. 1 month ago 1625 Catherine Mayer funnel Kenyan State House ready for royal couple to arrive. The State House in Kenya is the location for tonight's state banquet, with the King and Queen set to be the guests of honor. In pictures posted on social media, long tables can be seen laid out painstakingly for the scores expected to attend. Floral displays adorn the center of each table, while the entertainment acts for the evening have also begun to arrive. 1 month ago 1539 Catherine Mayer funnel King Charles will address Mau Mau rebellion but avoid talk of reparations. King Charles will be more candid than his mother Queen Elizabeth was while in Kenya, but is expected to stop short of acknowledging calls for further reparations. In 2013 over £19 million was paid out to Kenyan torture victims by the British government, following the atrocities committed during the Kenyan uprising against the British colonizers in the 1950s. Buckingham Palace said His Majesty would acknowledge the more painful aspects of the UK and Kenya's shared history, and although the royals have expressed their sorrow over colonialism and slavery, they usually stop short of an apology. 1 month ago 1527 Georgina Lord get the latest royal news from the Express Royal Newsletter. Sign up to the Express Royal Newsletter and get the latest news, analysis and pictures. Solus in bed. 1 month ago 1448 Lauren Welch the King smiles as he attends a tech and innovation showcase at Nairobi Garages. King Charles smiles as he attends a tech and innovation showcase at Nairobi Garages on October 31. He met young technology entrepreneurs upon arrival. 1 month ago 1358 Lauren Welch the King picked produce from an urban farm today. The King picked produce from an urban farm today and presented it to a hospital's chef as he learnt about a Kenyan project that has given new life to waste ground. Charles pulled out spinach, kale and curly kale leaves from the ground after he was given a guided tour of City Shamba, a city farm initiative, on the first full day of his state visit to Kenya. A large patch of land behind Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital in the capital Nairobi has been transformed in just 12 months into a thriving organic holding, producing a wide range of vegetables and herbs and also chickens, 2 ponds to raise fish, and snails. Hospital chef Nelly Njagi, who was handed a basket of vegetables leaves with the final few picked by the King, said afterwards, "He asked if this was for the patients and I told him it was. Having this organic food available is very good for their recovery." The King was also shown a selection of large African land snails bred by staff at the farm and laughed when told by Gregory Kamani, City Shamba's founder and chief executive officer, the slime is used by the beauty industry for women's facial products. Charles marveled at the larvae of black soldier files used to turn vegetable waste into fertilizer and seemed impressed by the farm's use of natural pesticides, including rabbit urine, and vertical planting. For a brief moment he popped into a polytunnel where roasting temperatures are helping to ripen tomatoes. Mr. Kamani said after the royal visit, "Taking the King around the farm means that our idea is something that can go out there and it can be accepted anywhere by anyone. So we are very much glad for the validation of the idea." Growing our crops organically was a huge thing for him, He really liked the idea of how we are growing things and really taking back control of our own food system. Words by Richard Palmer. Express Royal Correspondent 1 month ago 1323 Lauren Welch Their Majesties, the President and the First Lady view a Magumo tree in Uhuru Gardens. Their Majesties, the President and the First Lady view a Magumo, fig, tree in Uhuru Gardens. 1 month ago 1247 Emily Ferguson Sign up to our royal newsletter. To make sure you don't miss any of the latest stories on the royal family, sign up to our newsletter. We send 3 sends a day brimming with royal news, exclusives and explainers. 1 month ago 1222 Lauren Welch The King and Queen honor Kenyan independence heroes. The King and Queen honored Kenyan independence heroes once designated terrorists by Britain during a visit to the National Museum in Nairobi today. They paid tribute to Mau Mau fighters and others who took part in the long struggle for Kenyan statehood under British colonial rule. King Charles, 74, and Queen Camilla, 76, were given a sneak preview tour of the Mashujaa Museum, which is due to open to the public early next year, shortly after Kenya celebrates its 60th anniversary of independence on December 12. It tells the national story and contains a tunnel of martyrs, which the royal couple walk down, stopping at each panel to view descriptions of the independence struggle and those who fell fighting for it. The tunnel also has panels dedicated to those killed in Islamist violence since independence, including the 67 people killed when an al-Shabaab gunman ran amok in the Westgate Mall shopping center in Nairobi in 2013. The King and Queen stopped to look at panels about the Mau Mau uprising between 1952 and 1960. On their way into the museum they also acknowledged, with brief but respectful glances, statues of 2 independence fighters. They paid their respects to the statues of Mekatilili wa Menza, a feminist who led the Giriama people in a revolt against the colonial administration between 1912 and 1915, and Dedan Kimathi, who led the Mau Mau armed military struggle against the British in the 1950s until his capture in 1956 and execution a year later. The king was asking questions about the uprising as he was shown around. And this happened in 1954. He asked at one point, as the man responsible for creating the museum, Air Force Brigadier General Oswald Opio, led him around. Words by Richard Palmer. Express Royal Correspondent 1 month ago 1117 Lauren Welch Students met the king in Kenya. Meeting the king, young people from the Turkana region of Kenya were bringing the energy today. They met the monarch as part of his 4-day visit to Kenya this week. 1 month ago 1114 Lauren Welch Queen Camilla reads in Kenya as part of the Prince's Trust International Enterprise Challenge. Queen Camilla reads Lion and Mouse during her visit to Eastlands Library, with King Charles III, where she met the founders of Book Bunk, a Kenyan charity that restores public libraries, and the king will join young people taking part in a Prince's Trust International Enterprise Challenge on October 31, 2023 in Nairobi, Kenya. 1 month ago 1111 Lauren Welch The king is greeted with a warm welcome. The king and queen were given a grand ceremonial welcome in Nairobi today at the start of a 4-day state visit to Kenya. Charles and Camilla arrived at State House, the president's official residence, where their hosts had rolled out the red carpet, and around 100 members of the military, in their scarlet uniforms, were lined up in the forecourt to wait for their royal visitors. Stepping out of a Land Rover Discovery, the couple were greeted with warm handshakes by the Republic's President Dr. William Ruto and his First Lady Rachel before being introduced to Kenyan Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi and Francis Agala, Chief of Kenya's Defense Forces. Camilla, in a white Anna Valentine crepe silk dress and a diamond oyster brooch which had belonged to the late Queen Elizabeth, was carrying an umbrella, but luckily the rain that had persisted all morning stopped minutes before the couple's arrival and was replaced with bright sunshine. On the dais in front of State House, the king and the president stood side by side in front of the national flags as a guard of honor conducted a royal salute and the Kenya Defence Force band played the UK and Kenyan national anthems. After a 21-gun salute, the king made his way to inspect the guard of honor as the band continued to play. Words by Richard Palmer. Express Royal Correspondent 1 month ago 11:06 Lauren Welch. The King poses with young people for the Prince's Trust International Enterprise Challenge. King Charles III poses for pictures with young people that are taking part in a Prince's Trust International Enterprise Challenge on October 31, 2023 in Nairobi, Kenya. 1 month ago 10:41 Emily Ferguson. King Charles wipes away a tear. King Charles appears to wipe away a tear during a wreath-laying ceremony at the tomb of the unknown warrior at the Uhuru Gardens in Nairobi. The Kenyan and UK national anthems were played by the Kenya Defence Forces Band, before the last post was played. King Charles then observed a short period of reflection before laying a wreath at the tomb. President Ruto then followed and laid his own wreath. 1 month ago 10:30 Lauren Welch. King Charles ordered to discuss horrors of Mau Mau revolt in Kenya, but he won't apologize. The king is expected to acknowledge Britain's torture of Mau Mau suspects in Kenya when he and the Queen visit the country this week, but is not likely to apologize. The monarch will be ordered by the government to avoid talk of reparations for the detention and mistreatment of thousands of Kenyans by the colonial administration between 1952 and 1960. It will be the first major royal visit to Kenya since Britain in 2013 expressed regret for human rights abuses during the Mau Mau uprising. It settled a High Court case, agreeing to pay £19.9 million in damages and legal costs to 5,228 elderly victims of torture and repression. 1 month ago 10:08 Lauren Welch. The royal whose depraved behavior in Kenya saw him seduce the wife of a local official. King Charles III and Queen Camilla are set to arrive in Kenya on Tuesday, but not all members of the royal family left the country on a positive note. King Edward VIII didn't leave Kenya on the best note back in 1928, where he undertook some rather debauched behavior. Ahead of the King's visit to Kenya on Tuesday, it appears that not all royals have come back to the UK with the best reputation, including his late great-uncle. 1 month ago 10:03 Lauren Welch. The King laid a wreath in Nairobi. The King has laid a wreath in Nairobi. 1 month ago 9:41 Lauren Welch. The King lays a wreath in Nairobi. The King has laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown warrior in Nairobi. The King and Queen walked to the Magomo fig tree, planted one at the spot where Kenyan independence was declared. As this happened, the Union flag was lowered and the Kenyan flag raised in December 1963. Before the formalities began, the royal couple posed with the President and First Lady for a picture for the waiting press with the President's official residence as a backdrop. King Charles later joined President Ruto on a dais, as a nearby guard of honor, formed in 2 rows. They gave a royal salute and the Kenya Defence Force Band played the UK and Kenyan national anthems followed by a 21-gun salute. King Charles inspected the troops as he walked past the soldiers in their red tunics and peaked caps. 1 month ago 9:26 Emily Ferguson. King Charles and Queen Camilla's ceremonial welcome. King Charles and Queen Camilla received a fitting ceremonial welcome as they RV'd at the State House this morning. They stepped out onto a red carpet and were greeted by a military band. Their Majesties also received a 21-gun salute. 1 month ago 8:53 Lauren Welch. The King and Queen arrived at the Senate House. The King and Queen arrived at the Senate House on October 31, the first of their 4-day visit to Kenya. 1 month ago 8:47 Lauren Welch. Camilla stuns in white silk dress and striking diamond brooch that belonged to late Queen. King Charles and Queen Camilla have received a warm welcome in Kenya as the couple's 5-day tour gets underway, with Her Majesty's outfit hitting the right notes. Queen Camilla looked elegant in a white crepe silk dress by Anna Valentine as the royal couple stepped out for the first day of their royal tour in Kenya. Known for her simple yet classic style, the Queen opted for a 3/4 sleeve knee-length dress. 1 month ago 8:44 Lauren Welch why King Charles won't be visiting Treetops Hotel in Kenya with special link to late Queen. King Charles and Queen Camilla will be in Kenya this week for an official royal visit, but a trip to the Treetops Hotel is no longer a possibility. The Treetops Game Viewing Lodge in Kenya is a particularly special location for the royal family, as it represents the moment the late Queen Elizabeth learned of her father's death. An emotional yet pivotal time, in 1952, as it was the exact moment Princess Elizabeth became monarch. On February 6 that year Elizabeth went up a tree overlooking an elephant watering hole at the lodge. 1 month ago 8:38 Lauren Welch King Charles plants a tree upon arrival in Kenya. King Charles III plants a tree while standing next to Kenyan President William Ruto during the ceremonial welcome at the State House in Nairobi. This was followed by the couple signing a guest book. 1 month ago 8:31 Lauren Welch the King pictured with the President of the Republic of Kenya King Charles III and the President of the Republic of Kenya William Ruto pose inside the State House on October 31, 2023 in Nairobi, Kenya. 1 month ago 8:30 Lauren Welch the royal couple each both attend bilateral meetings Queen Camilla and Rachel Ruto, First Lady of the Republic of Kenya during bilateral meeting at State House on October 31, 2023 in Nairobi, Kenya. 1 month ago 8:04 Lauren Welch King Charles and Queen Camilla have arrived in Kenya. King Charles and Queen Camilla have arrived in Kenya. 1 month ago 7:32 Lauren Welch morning from London. Welcome to our live blog for all the latest on the King and Queen Camilla's visit to Kenya. More to follow. Become an Express Premium member. Support fearless journalism. Read the Daily Express online. Advert free. Get super fast page loading. Start 30-day free trial.